Hi everyone, welcome to the Healing Lounge, a channel dedicated to exploring holistic health and wellness. We'll be in conversation with practitioners, organizations, nonprofits, anyone who explores holistic health, empowering mind, body, and spirit, sharing that love and sharing that knowledge and wisdom to all of their clients. We are here to guide, ignite, and unite for a better tomorrow. Thank you again for joining us, and let's tune in to see what we have in store for you. Enjoy. Hello, Danielle. How are you?
I'm good, Sergio. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. I know you're super busy, and thank you for making the time for us here at the Healing Lounge, and welcome.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yes, thank you. Yes, for those who don't know, please share a little bit about you and how you got started in on your journey.
Yeah, so my name's Danielle Winters. I'm a professional aura photographer. I specialize in events, and I have always had a foot into the more spiritual side of things, energy-based side of things. I was lucky enough that my family was pretty into that sort of stuff. So I had my first aura photo when I was about 14, and then got reunited with it about 3 years ago, and just was like, I could do this. Okay, this is fantastic. And so I created my business, Aura Photostars, centered around the events industry.
That's amazing. And for those who don't know what an aura is, can you please explain a little bit to the viewers?
Of course, yeah. So um, the aura is our energetic field that surrounds us. We're all bioelectric, so I mean electromagnetic. So we have a field that we generate out and that draws in to us as well. And so when someone walks into a room and everyone seems to notice them, you may or may not know why, but it's actually their aura, it's their energy field that is what is grabbing your attention. And so there's 4 different areas within the aura when I do the readings, and it enables you to understand yourself because there's a personality aspect to it, and then your surrounding energies as well. So you can better understand, okay, this is the energy that's coming in for me at the moment. This is the energy that I'm exuding out, that people are receiving from me, as well as the actual state of your energy system. So, some people have a very wide aura, and they're willing to take up a lot of space, metaphysically and physically. And then there's other people that keep their aura in quite close to them. And, that could be for a couple of different reasons. They might not be feeling so great. They might be a little bit depressed. Their energy system level could be low overall. So they might need to take some better care of themselves. And then the ones that are ready to, like, that are taking up the space with their aura, typically those would be the types that you're really going to notice walk into the room because they're vibrating out this power and energy, radiantly and with a lot of strength.
That is so interesting. Very interesting. I'm excited to dive deeper into that. And question on that too. I noticed you mentioned more presence in the room, the bigger, the brighter the aura. Do you see that when you take the photos of people? Do you see it? Do you get to like analyze and let them know like, hey, here's where you at, here's your personality, here's what's going on with you energetically. How does that work? Like, how does the process of going in and seeing you for a session, how does that process look like?
Yeah, so with every aura photography system, there's a hand sensor that uses biofeedback. And I have a digital system, so that enables me to actually see everything live in real time. Yeah, they're sort of started off with Polaroid, and that uses a double exposure method. The first is to actually take your photo, and then the second, it overlays the colors over the top. But the photographer and the person don't know what's going to come out until you develop that, that Polaroid photo develops. Whereas for me, I see everything in real time. I can also see the chakra levels. I can see your yin and yang balance, your body, mind, and spirit balance as well. So I really get to see what your entire energy system is doing and how balanced or unbalanced, the different centers are. So then when I do a reading, I'm able to give you insights and say, hey, maybe have you been feeling blocked or uncertain, uneasy, you're holding in emotions, not speaking enough, might be having problems setting goals, various elements that relate to the different chakras. And even though the aura and the chakras are separate energy systems, qualities out of the chakras do relate to the colors in our aura. So what's termed as our basic personality, basic nature and personality, which is the central color in my photos, that is really the chakra you're the most tied into. And a lot of the time people get shocked because there's a lot of crossover between the characteristics that come up for that with things like astrology and human design and enneagrams and various other methods of determining who we are. And so each chakra has an element, and when I say to people, oh, you're connected in with this element, and then a lot of time people just go, oh, that I'm a triple water, or I'm a double air, or depending on what their risings are, it might not be their direct sign, but it might be one of their risings. But they always find there's a lot of relatability to to them as a person, and that's what kind of shocks people the most is it's like I don't know them from an apple, and yet when I read the colors, they're like, oh my God, that's me, and that's what's going on, and that's what I've been struggling with. And that's amazing that you can see that from the photo.
Wow. It really goes to tell you that, everything that we do and how we feel can really be seen. Just your person, you can really tell a lot just by, reading energy and really getting some information from this amazing technology that you have.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of advancements that are happening in that field as far as technology?
Not that I'm aware of specifically. I mean, there's been sort of some changes in some systems, but nothing that I have gotten too excited about to say, oh, I want to perhaps try that one out. So it's been sort of in a stasis mode for quite a while. They kind of jumped from the Polaroid into digital, and then they've had the digital, in its form for a bit, but there's not really this push from the company. There's only one or two companies, and they're not really in this, aggressive tug of war like Apple against IBM. We've got to get market share, innovate our products. So, there's definitely things that I would input in and say, hey, can we do this and, expand it out and things like that. But that's not up to me.
I can see though how valuable that information would be because you're there helping the public with all of this. And I can see how it would be very valuable to hear that feedback from you.
People love it. They really, as I said, they get shocked, but they just love it. And they're seeing themselves, and people want to learn more about themselves and want to better themselves and receive encouragement that, sometimes it's just as simple as giving someone encouragement and saying, hey, you're doing a good job, people don't hear that, and so that
Mm.
can get them emotional when you tell them that. But that we should be encouraging people and recognizing them. And I say to people, look, celebrate what you've accomplished. It's not bragging. It's like, hey, I put all this work in, like I legit worked on this, and I'd like to celebrate the achievement that resulted as from all that work.
Yes, it's important to celebrate the wins, right? We
Yeah.
focus so much on the shadow work and getting, rid of this baggage and that baggage that sometimes we forget. We're like, hey, you know what? What about the wins? So let's celebrate those too.
Well, I
You're-
mean, it can be about the shadow stuff and getting rid of, I worked through this and I've come out the other end, and like you were there with me or not, or it doesn't matter if they were there supporting you, but just say, hey, I've done this thing and I'd really love to involve you and have you celebrate this with me, and that I recognize it versus, oh, okay, I've done that. All right, what's the next thing on my list? And just
Mm.
go along and do the next thing.
Have clients followed up with you when they had their first session with you? Have they followed up and said, you know what, I want to see where I'm at now with the work that I've been doing. Can you do some work on me with the aura photography?
It's possible. I mean, with my brand, I do focus on the events.
Mm.
So they're not able to see me in a studio situation. But if there was enough of a calling for that, because a lot of the people that I see have come in from somewhere else. So maybe when they go back to wherever, if they've got an aura photo with someone else and they wanted me to read it, I could definitely do that. I can do virtual aura photo readings for photos you've already received, but at the moment for them to come back, they'd have to be in town and then want to come in and have a session.
Have you seen anything that shocked you when you've taken, pictures or photos of people's auras?
I did have one. I was at something and it didn't want to read the person at all. They actually had a white aura, so that they were there, and I mean you could see them, but they weren't really there in a way at the same time. So yeah, that was the trickiest sort of pickup of the read off the hand that I've had to deal with so far. But yeah, just really didn't want to. It was having a problem trying to, even though her hand was on it, it wasn't happy
Mm,
picking
wow.
up anything. So, but what was ironic was that her partner was on the complete other end of the spectrum, and he was at a almost completely red aura. So the two of them were on the, like, he was in very physical and she was in this, other world. Even though she had her body, she just wasn't really quite in it. And so they, if they can work through it, they have a lot that they can support each other with, and then help each other grow, and can be like the yin and yang sort of complementary partnership. Or it can go the other way where it's just too far apart. It's like, I can't deal with this anymore. It's not working.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and then that's probably the most extreme. And then the other thing was, when I first started doing more photography, I thought that if someone was in complete balance and their energy system was fully powered up, and their body, mind, and spirit was balanced, and their yin and yang were balanced, that they would have a completely white aura. And then I saw someone who was actually, they were yellow everywhere. The entire photo was yellow, aura was yellow, and they had everything in balance. And so I realized then that there isn't really an aim for the color or the colors
Mm.
that get represented. As a personality type, any of the personality types are able to achieve full power, like a state of full power and balance. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll change your personality type to be able to achieve that. So that was very enlightening to learn that one.
Yeah, that sounds That sounds amazing. I was gonna ask too, like, do what do certain colors mean when they ask when any customer were to ask like, hey, what does this mean? Why am I a green? Why am I a red? Why am I a yellow?
Yeah, I mean, some people want to see certain colors and then they get disappointed if they're not present in the aura at all, or they want their personality type. They thought they were going to be like an indigo or a purple or lavender or something, but they're an orange, you know. But when you do the reading, it's like, oh yeah, that's me. That's actually me. But they could be an orange type and be surrounded by lavender or violet. And so they have this intuition and inspiration and ideas that are flowing into their aura that they're expressing out, to up with people that they trust. So, any of the colors can really present themselves surrounding you anywhere. And then you have your personality type. But
Wow.
they do, as I mentioned, they do connect into the chakras. So, if someone's got a green personality type, they tend to be more balanced overall, as long as they're in balance, right? There are always positive and negatives to each of the chakras. So you can be in excess or deficiency, for any of them. But they tend to get along well with everybody the best because they can relate to everyone. The red aura types, like there's a huge misconception around the color red, that it's angry, but it's very passionate. It can be very intense, stubborn. But typically I find that when you're in the lower three chakras, so the solar plexus, the sacral, or the root chakra, when you commit to something, you commit, right? So whereas the more spiritual types, they're a little more wishy-washy. So the intensity of the red or the oranges, because red is within the color orange as well, it's coming from a good place though, because they want to be there, they want to be reliable, they want to be of service, and often put themselves in situations where they're exhausted. But I said I would do this thing, and so I'm going to do it. So part of their lesson is to really stop and feel how they're actually feeling. But then on the flip side, the spiritual types like to escape up into the clouds, and so they need to experience the physical more, and perhaps as well, they can be very loyal, the blues especially, and very giving. But in terms of like committing to things and sort of being nailed down, that can be a problem.
This is very interesting. I feel like you were describing me there for a second. Yeah, now since we're on that topic of chakras, for anyone out there who is not really too familiar or wants to know more about chakras, can you please explain a little bit about the chakra system and their meaning?
Yeah, sure. So we have, the common consensus is we have 7 chakras. They start up here in the crown chakra, and they flow down. There's 7 points, and they flow down to just below our tailbone, and they really radiate out sort of in front and behind us. And they're vortexes. So they're vortexes of spinning energy, and they are meant to spin in a certain direction. So, I read in particular texts that they sort of go like this so that the energy can flow up, because if they're all spinning in the same direction, it's like, how does the energy sort of, it's like the cogs of a wheel, right? And you're passing a belt through the wheel, or as they like to say in Kundalini, like the snake. The snake's got to be able to traverse up. So if everything's spinning in the same direction, you sort of get spun off in a way. But so it's like they're drawing from each other. So when you have, so they're vortexes of energy, they have particular aspects to them. the energy comes up, but then it also comes down, and depending on which way the energy is flowing depends on what the quality is for that particular chakra. So from the bottom up, it's more, you start off in like survival, and then go to emotion and ego and things like that. But when it's flowing down, it's ideas and then turning them into action, taking action on them. So you can see that if a couple of them or even one of them is weak and isn't pulling its weight, then it clogs the whole system, right? The energy is flowing really well and gets stuck in a traffic jam, and only small amounts of energy then can get through to feed, the rest of the system. So, it's really important to be aware of the state of them, and it helps you understand as well, like certain triggers as well. So, if you're really quick to sort of go into this like state of anxiety, it can be related into your first and second chakra, because it's like, instability, but then also emotional. If you lose your voice, that's your throat chakra. You haven't been speaking up enough. You're holding in things. So the metaphysically, the energy says, oh, well, you don't want to speak, so you won't be able to, right? You've told us that it wasn't important, so why do you need the voice anymore?
That is very interesting, and I love how you spoke about that too. Again, feeling like you're reading me right now. Yeah, when I was younger, I used to get a lot of sore throats, and it was because of what you mentioned of not communicating, not speaking up, and not speaking my truth. And it's something that I worked on to release that consistent blockage or that consistent non-motion. And I love how you said that, they listen to us. So if we don't use it, then we're telling them, we're kind of like, in a sense, like, okay, we're kind of letting them know, like, hey, we don't need you right now. And so they just become a little less active.
Completely. Yeah. And you'll also find that you've got neck problems, neck into the shoulders, the muscles there and things. It's like a lot of instability, but it's also what's going on in your mind as well. So you're not vocalizing things, but then inside you're talking to yourself and saying, oh, whatever it is that your self-talk is, and you're putting yourself down, and then that also manifests itself physically. If we don't express out the emotions, they get stuck in the body, and then they build up in the muscles, in different organs, and then represent themselves physically eventually. We have to we have to express, and then we also have to listen to what our bodies are telling us and go, oh, okay, like, I've got a really sore lower back. I don't feel supported somewhere. Where do I not feel supported? My neck is always killing me, or I have a headache. I read people that end up wearing glasses is because they don't want to see the reality.
Wow.
So they stop being able to see, right? And then they need the glasses to filter the world for them. And then if you get headaches, it's like there's, something going on for the crown chakra.
That is very interesting how the chakra system correlates with specific organs in the body. And it could be really telling, and I could see how beneficial it would be to come see you and do these sessions at these events. It's just to get a different perspective, a different insight of what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't say to people I'll be able to fix anything, but just give them insight into what I can see and what my system picks up. But typically at the events, I've only got a short amount of time with people, so I give it to them hard and fast. And it's like, okay, might want to record this because we're going quick. It's always very, very popular, which is fantastic. People, they have no idea what it is, but the word gets out at whatever the event or trade show is or something, and then you've got everybody like, I want mine, I want mine.
Have you done photographs for pets or for animals?
Yes, I have actually. I used to have a system where I could do the dog, like do animals, but it was very difficult. To depending on how well behaved the animal is, to get first of all get a good photo of them, but then have it so that they were comfortable enough because there were these plates and you would put the paws on the plates. But I transitioned to taking photos of people with their animal
Hmm.
instead. You can do a photo of yourself and then you could do a photo of you with your animal. It's a beautiful little portrait together. And then we see, what changes happen in your energy field when there's the connection with the animal. And then it's the same thing with people, right? You get your individual or a photo and then you get one together and we see what happens, when it combines.
Yes, that's really interesting. I've always wondered about, the chakra system of animals. Are they located in the same space as they are within us?
They're kind of, but I don't, they don't have seven, I believe.
Hmm.
They might have four. I haven't really looked into that side too much because I don't do the animals, but yeah, I think they only have four, but they typically tend to be, grounded. I mean, I'm yet to take well, when I was doing it, I don't think I had any dog photos where they were like violet colors,
Yeah.
they tend to be, uh, but they can achieve all range of them as well.
Hmm. Was there anything that really stood out to you in doing the work that you're doing throughout your entire time doing the photographs? Was there like a specific incident that really stood out to you that was very memorable to you?
Well, the biggest thing I've come to realize is most people are an orange aura type. A lot of people in different situations, different events, they tend to be the most of the color I see. And then when there is a change, it's interesting because it'll be like a grouping of people that are all in, more like the yellow and green and blue to violet range. So they sort of, you'll find them all together, but most people are an orange aura type. So that I was, that again matches up with the human design because most people are a particular human design type. There's like one that's more common than the others. And so I feel like that's kind of the same with the aura photo. But then seeing the dynamics of a group, when it's for corporate wellness and things like that, it's very interesting and allows the team to understand their own dynamics better. And when you lay out
Hmm.
all the photos together, and then it's like, okay, out of a group of 10, there's one yellow, two reds, three oranges, one blue, right? Or it could be the other way around, depending on what industry they're in as well. So certain
Hmm.
industries attract certain types, of course. And so then like within that team, let's say they were more in the spiritual side, and then you've got one or two people that are in the physical end. And then the rest of the team understands, oh, this is why these two are more intense or more perfectionist or, whatever. And so how can we better utilize them within the team, now that we understand our dynamic, based off our energy, and then vice versa, those that are, teams where they're more physical, and then you've got the one or two that are more spiritual. It's like, how do you better utilize them and create a stronger team together?
That's incredible. Yes, I can see how that can be a huge asset in the corporate structure when doing corporate events. And that is a wonderful insight to kind of like understand people's personality, especially going into the corporate world where sometimes it is high pressure or whatnot. But it's really a really good asset to have. And I bet it's really fun too.
And the
Uh,
other thing is we typically present ourselves, depending on what it is we do, we present ourselves differently when we're in work mode versus personal mode. So that is a big change as well. So that same person when they're there in their group dynamic with the team, they're in work mode. But if they were then to come and see me separately, when they're in personal mode, they could very well have a completely different set of colors and personality type, because they're themselves, their actual selves, then what they have to tap into to be who they have to be for their job.
Wow. Yeah, that's really insightful there. What other events do you do? What are the most common events that book you for your services?
It's a beautiful range of everything, honestly. I've done conferences, trade show, booth activations, private events, dance parties, festivals, the corporate wellness, team building, birthday parties. It really is so versatile and I love being brought into all these different situations, brand activations, when a brand is launching a product and they want something unique, I've done those, and try to tie it into the theme for their product. And then I just like the range in which it can be applied, and that it can bring this insight and joy and connection to anyone everywhere. It doesn't have to be in this Zen spa space. I can be at a dance festival with, house music pumping in the background and still be able to. In those situations, it works because the sound is like a constant, right? But where it starts to get a little self-conscious for people is if it's like there's a lot of people talking and then all of a sudden everyone goes silent. And they're like, oh, what? They're sitting there with their, hand on the machine, and like everyone went silent. And so that's kind of that's definitely worse than if there was this, throbbing music going on. It just makes it a little difficult to do the readings, depending on how close the speaker is, that's got the music coming out. But it's always, in that sort of situation, it doesn't really sort of affect the aura too much, because it's the scenario that they're in already.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was going to be another question of mine, if the type of event influenced the aura in a way.
Well, the only way for me to really know would, again, be to take one of them in a quiet space, like a couple of days later after whatever has calmed down and they're in a different space, then I would really know. But I don't really get to see people like that.
Now, where can people go? Where can they find more information on your events, to see your work, and how to contact you so they can start booking you?
Perfect. Yes. So my website's Photostars.com, and it has some information on there, some photos, and the event quote form. I'm on Instagram at Aura Photostars. I do post, reels and helpful insights, weekly affirmations, and the videos and photos from some of the events, so you can get a feel for what the experience is like. Example aura photos as well, so you can learn about different personality types. And then I am on Facebook under Aura Photostars. My email is shine@auraphotostars.com, and those are the best ways to get me.
Yes, and for everyone, I'll be dropping all of those links below so you could contact Danielle for her services and check out all of her amazing work that she's doing. Danielle, thank you so much for taking the time again, for being here. I'm very looking forward to seeing what it is that you do at many other events that we run into. Yes, great things, great things. Thank you again. We'll definitely link up again to see about doing another video.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sergio. It was a pleasure. Again, I appreciate the invitation, and I'm really excited to work with you again and see more of you.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you, and you have an amazing day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.